backseat version, backseater handles laser-guided, GPS-guided weapons, 50,000 foot a minute climb rate, 104 kills, 0 losses, supposed to fly until about 2045. So that's our top dogfighter. Next up, the F-22 would be coming up to take its place. The A-4 Skyhawk, John McCain, our senator from Arizona, was flying one of these little airplanes when he was shot down over Vietnam. Nicknamed Scooter, and you can see why when you look straight on at it. It did not have to have the wings folded up to store it on a carrier. F-14 Tomcats, an early one, and then the next one down will be a D model or Bombcat. Swing wing, supersonic, about 2.3 Mach, intended to protect the carrier fleet, but often pressed into attack roles as it was during the Gulf Wars. And we took it out of service around 2006. When we did, we shredded all of the F-14s around the world except for 9 that are here and a few in museums. Otherwise, they're gone because Iran still flies the F-14 and we didn't want parts to fall in the wrong hands. Over here on the left, well, C-130 is come in about 40 different flavors. So this first one you're looking at is an LC. L is cold weather operations, so see the skis on it. This was based down in Christchurch, New Zealand, and flown to Antarctica to support the National Science Foundation. And then past it with the yellow wings, red tail. That's a drone carrier, a DC-130. It could carry either target drones or reconnaissance drones. Back here on the right, the oldest intact aircraft in AMARG is this B-57 Canberra, designed in the UK. This one built by Martin Aircraft. I'll tell you why we have these B-57s when we look at a WB-57 over in the reclamation side. Our most popular aircraft flown in the U.S. is the F-16 Falcon. Over 4,500 of them built. We have over 500 here. We're now turning them into supersonic target drones. Past the F-16s, an F-8 Crusader. John Glenn set the speed record in an F-8 coast-to-coast, first plane to do it over 1,000 miles an hour supersonic was in an F-8 Crusader. It's not an airplane, it's a gun with wings and an engine, a couple of engines on it. This is our Thunderbolt. When you look at the nose gear, it's offset for that rotary cannon in the front. Well, 1 second trigger pull releases about 70 rounds that weigh around a pound apiece. It can pierce 8.5 inches of steel. And it has hard points on the wings for bombs and missiles. So this is all about ground support, this aircraft. And that's why it's very popular today. All of them have been rebuilt to extend their life. FA-18 Hornet, stored in a cover instead of using this white spray lat material that's covering the other airplanes. That's so they can put them back into service quickly and perform regular maintenance on them. There's about 100 Hornets stored out here. Navy got kind of smart with this design because they eliminated 3 aircraft, the A6, A7, and the F-14 were all replaced by this FA-18. 101 Voodoo, first airplane to fighter to be able to fly above 1,000 miles an hour in level flight, an intercept aircraft. And then the next 2 airplanes coming up on the right have orange tails and orange wingtips, signifying that they're Q-type airplanes. Q meaning unmanned aircraft. They're drones. So the F-4 was a target drone to train pilots. And then the one just past it is a QF-106. It was a NASA experiment to try to figure out if you could launch low Earth satellites from a towed vehicle. It has a big metal box in front of the cockpit, and they would attach a 1,000-foot rope. Well, probably not rope, but 1,000-foot line, let's say, to that plane and run it up to a C-141 cargo ship, tow it up at 25,000 feet, release it, and fly it back to Earth unmanned. On the left is a Purple Heart edition of a C-130. Well, that just tells you how we find history out here in AMARG. They opened this cockpit up and there was a Purple Heart plaque on the bulkhead in the pilot's, back behind the pilot's area, giving it a honorary Purple Heart from Vietnam. The pilot was flying out of a base that was under attack. One engine was being replaced, but he didn't want to wait around to see what would happen. So when he took off, he was hit with a lot of shrapnel on the exit, landed in an alternate air base where they had to replace both wings and all 4 engines. And the crew that worked on the plane said, this plane is so shot up, it deserves a Purple Heart. So they mounted that plaque in there. Well, this plane was rebuilt and flew till 2008 when it came here from Germany for retirement. F-105 Thunder Chief, over 833 of these built. We lost 395 during Vietnam. It's our only fighter we took out of service because of its high loss rate. It was intended to deliver nuclear weapons, but in Vietnam it was put into all kinds of dangerous duty, including scaring up SAM missiles. And it was fast, but not always maneuverable enough to escape the missiles and some of the missions that it had to fly there. On the right, compare the nose of the next two airplanes, and what you're going to see is a prowler nose grafted on a Gulfstream. So this first airplane on your right is a Gulfstream, and it was used to train warfare officers and navigators that would go to the Prowler. And the Prowler is a four-seater based on the A6 Intruder. You see that jamming box on the tail? So this plane was notorious at being able to take all the enemy's radar out of service. So a good guy to have up in the air. On the left you see a C-23 Sherpa, and that's it was a Army National Guard cargo plane, but now being regenerated for the U.S. Forest Service. Just past it on the left is a YC-14, and Boeing only made two of these. The attempt was to get the contract away from Lockheed for the C-130, and did everything it was supposed to do. Short field takeoff and landing, jet engines, was going to be expensive to build and operate. So the Lockheed 130 stays in production today, over 60 years of continuous production. T-2 Buckeye on the right, intermediate jet trainer, Buckeye for Columbus, Ohio, where it was built, and the T-34 Turbo Mentor, based on a Beechcraft Bonanza airframe. That was the Navy's primary trainer. Also on the right, another Skyhawk, a two-seater, but this one's in camo with a star on it because it was flew as an aggressor aircraft for the Navy in Miramar, California, Navy Top Gun School. An ES-3 Shadow, that's a Viking aircraft with 60 different antennas sticking out all around the fuselage, and it could go out and discover what kind of electronics our enemy might be flying. On the left is a little AWACS airplane, the E-2 Hawkeye. This could be a carrier-based AWACS plane. That radome on top rotates around 7 revolutions a minute, and it could track 2,000 targets, work intercept on about 50. Then you got the T-39 Saberliner and the UC-12 Huron coming up on the left. Both of them either training aircraft or could be VIP transports. Helicopters on the right, Sea Cobras. Cobras have been regenerated for the U.S. Forest Service for fire watch out in this part of the country. And then we've got the H-1 Iroquois, better known as the Huey. H-46 Sea Knight, that's the medium lift helicopter for Navy and Marines. And the Navy would use it for vertical replenishment between ships. The Marines would land troops with it. And just past it's going to be a CH-53 Sea Stallion. Navy Marine helicopter could carry 38 and a crew of 4. And then we have a little Sea Sprite, the H-2 Sea Sprite, multi-purpose helicopter, often kept on small frigates. This one's outfitted for anti-submarine work. The H-3 Sea King, first amphibious helicopter, first with jet engines, still the type helicopter that carries the president from the White House to Andrews Air Force Base. The president flies in a Sea King. OH-58 Kiowa, a little observation helicopter. The Army has 250 of these. They stored out here because they're now using unmanned vehicles for that mission. C-1 Trader on the left. That was the carrier onboard delivery aircraft based on the USS Lexington. Back in the old days, we wrote letters to one another, and this is how you'd get your mail to the aircraft carrier you were serving on, or even better yet, maybe your replacement would fly on board on a C-1. The Seahawk on the right side, that's the Navy version, Marine version of the Black Hawk, about 70% of the same parts. And then S-2 Tracker is another Smithsonian airplane stored out here. It's the first of the true anti-submarine aircraft. It could drop sonobuoys from the engine nacelles and then listen for submarines, carried 2 torpedoes, and could carry depth charges on the wing, so it could find submarines and eliminate them. S-3 Viking over here on the left. I'll tell you more about Vikings and reclamation. We're going to see quite a few over there. And then we've got the OV-1 Mohawk. This is a forward air controller observation aircraft used during the Vietnam era and short field takeoff and landing. So let's drive through AMARG and see what they're doing today. Give you a little more information on some of the different aircraft and programs out here. All the C-130s, we have 320 out here. These are all in Type 1000 storage, no parts coming off, they're maintained, they can be returned to flight. On the right side are going to be aircraft engines. We have 7,000 engines out here, and the first ones are C5s, and then we get into some jet engines, turboprops, and all of these cans have engines and argon or nitrogen inside as a preservative. History buffs that know what an XC-99 is, the only one ever built. There's the 6 engines to it standing up vertically. They're 4360 radial engines, and AMARG actually has the airframe stored in another area out here. The XC-99 was a double-decker of the B-36 bomber, and it didn't last too long. Over here on the right are F-16s with some air guard locations on the tails. They're early models, mid to early 80s. Still got some life left in the airframes. They're going to be target drones. Ultimately, they'll be shot down over the Gulf of Mexico. And to do that, we get them back in the air down here across the road. And once they are flown and tested and up to speed, they'll go down to Boeing aircraft in Jacksonville, Florida, where they'll put a remote package